projection as to relevance, that projection be overruled. Read through this, all of this seems to be relating to the money of the estate and actions of the guardianship and the actions Mr. Brown, Mr. Shackelford discussed relative to the guardianship proceeds. So, projection as to relevance be overruled. The audio set up?
Yes, sir. It's set up,
Are we ready for the jury?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we are.
All right, let's bring the jury in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hope you had a good lunch. You followed my admonitions right. Had discussed this case with anybody, done any research, or go sightseeing anywhere. Is that right? All right, you ready to proceed? Who's the state have next?
State calls Lennon Shackelford.
Shackelford, if you come around, be sworn, please.
Testimony about today in this call to swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth. I do.
Shackelford, you can have a seat in that chair there, please. You can move that chair and that microphone there if you need to, so you can speak into it comfortably.
Dr. Steve, Your Honor.
May proceed.
Would you identify yourself for the record, please, and the court reporter wants you to spell your last name for me.
Loomis Shackelford, Shackelford.
Mr. Shackelford, how old are you?
65,
And what business or employment do you have?
cemetery.
Can you explain a little bit more about that? Do you manage, own, or operate? What do you do with respect to a cemetery?
All three, own, manage,
Okay.
everything needs to be done.
Now, do you know Thomas and Lamont McClinton?
I do,
And do you know their relationship to each other?
I do.
What is that?
Thomas is Damon's father.
When did you meet? First of all, when did you meet Thomas McClinton and what's her name?
I met Thomas McClinton after Mike Brown came to me, offered to make that loan to me, and after a while of thinking about it and discussing it and so forth, and decided that I would possibly do that, I wanted to meet him to know more about him. I mean, I thought that I should know him and that he should know me.
All right. Now, what was your relationship with Michael Brown in early 2001?
Well, he had done a few things for me, legal work, and that was it. I mean, he was my attorney
All right.
for things.
Is this gentleman over here, Michael Brown, whom you refer?
Yes.
Now, in early 2001, were you in the process of, or in the process of attempting to make a loan for your business?
I was in the process of getting a loan for developing and consolidating and so forth.
And was Michael Brown involved in any way in your effort to obtain
No.
money?
No.
Was he aware that you were?
He was aware of it because it was something that happened at one of the banks that I questioned, and I asked him if he knew of an attorney that I could go to that specialized in that and could give me some advice on it. So he was aware of what I was doing.
All right. And knowing that you were in the process of borrowing money, Mr. Shackelford, did the time come when Mr. Michael Brown offered to lend you some money?
Yes.
Tell the jury how that came about.
First, he called me on the telephone and said that he was going to be able to.
Scott, slow down now just a little bit. You're talking too fast. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
He called me and said that he was going to be able to loan me the funds that I was needing for
Who was going to loan you the funds?
him.
Him or Mr. Brown? All right.
And it kind of caught me by surprise, and I didn't really think much of it at that time. And then he called me back, and I started asking a few questions about how are you going to do that. And he said that he was working on a case, and he had a client that was going to receive some funds from the sale of a TV station.
All right. And Mr. Shire, how much money how much money did you need to borrow to go work?
1.2 million.
And what were you going to use that money for?
That was going to pay off the first on the mortgage, and then the rest of it was going to be for developing.
And when Mr. Brown told you that he Mr. Brown, could lend you some money, did he tell you anything about where that money was coming from other than what you just said, that he had clients who were coming in some money?
Not at that time, no.
Now, at some point, did you learn that the money that Michael Brown was offering to lend you was in fact Demond McClinton's money?
I found out that it was Devon McClinton's money a good while after that, and that's when I started requesting that I wanted to meet Devon McClinton.
Had you met Thomas McClinton at that time?
Yeah, I met Thomas at the Olive Garden at the time.
And do you know, or did you know then, or do you know now that at that time, Demond McClinton was a minor?
I wasn't aware of Devon McClinton at that time, that I met Thomas at the Olive Garden.
At some point, did you learn that Demond McClinton, whose money it really was a minor? Or was under guardianship? Did you learn that?
Yeah, I did, but I don't know exactly when that was.
Okay. Now, tell me about the circumstances when you first met Thomas McClinton.
I told Mike Brown that I wanted to meet him, and he set up they were going to pick up some automobiles,
Now, Dave, who are you talking about?
him and Thomas.
Michael Brown and Thomas McClinton?
Yes.
All right, go and pick up some automobiles.
Yeah, and he wanted me to bring him and then pick up
Excuse
Thomas.
me, Mr. Shire, when you say him and
I'm
he-
sorry. Michael Brown wanted me to pick him up and then go by and pick Thomas McClinton up. And then we went to the Olive Garden and ate, and that's when I met Thomas McClinton. And then after that, I talked to Thomas for a few minutes and we ate. Then I took them to the Mercedes place for them to pick up 2 vehicles that they were going to pick up.
All right. Now, at the meeting y'all had at the Olive Garden, who all was present?
Michael Brown and Thomas McClinton and myself.
Demond McClinton was not there?
No.
All right. Now, as a result of the meeting that y'all had at the Olive Garden, was a decision made concerning the loan?
I didn't make a decision at that point and then say yes. But after that meeting, then I started feeling a little bit more comfortable about it and decided to do it.
Now, did y'all discuss terms such as
Not at that meeting.
interest repayment? You didn't talk about that at that time. Well, after the meeting, were you satisfied that that's what you wanted to do, that is, borrow his money?
After the meeting, yeah, and after the meeting, then I thought about it and then felt that after the meeting, I felt that it was okay.
All right. Now, who was the next person that you talked with about this loan?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean, the next person.
Are you talking-
After that meeting?
After that meeting, who's the next person you talked about the loan with?
I don't know that I talked to anyone
Okay.
about it after that.
All right. And whom did you, who did you tell that you wanted to make the loan, that you wanted to go ahead with? Who did you talk to about that?
Well, I talked to my wife about it.
You talked to Michael Brown about it?
Well, yeah, I talked to him and I told him that I decided to go ahead and do it.
And what did Michael Brown say?
Then he said, okay, that he needed some stuff from me, he needed an appraisal on my property, and that he had to do some things.
Okay.
Some things done.
Right. At what point did you learn that that was Devon Clinton's money that Michael Brown was offering to lend you?
It was a good while after that, and I'm not sure that it was when I requested to meet Thomas, because I was starting to just not be comfortable with some things, and I wanted to meet Thomas and talk to him, and I wanted to meet DeMond. So it was probably before that I found out, and that's when I wanted to talk to Thomas about what was really going on and what the deal was, because I was under the impression that the money was coming from Thomas through that sale. And then somewhere along the line, I know I started asking Mike some questions, and I think it was him that finally told me that, and that's when I wanted to talk to Thomas.
Shire, I'm going to hand you states. Exhibit 9, I'll ask you if you recognize that.
I do.
What is that?
That's that first check that he loaned to me.
All right, and how much is it for, and what is the date?
It's for $300,000, and the date is February the 22nd, 2001.
All right. And who gave you that check?
Michael Brown did.
And what county and what state were you when he gave it to you?
Rankin County, Mississippi.
Now, later on, did y'all have more discussions about borrowing some more money?
No, there was not any more discussions about borrowing money. I was under the impression that he was going to loan me the full amount that I was working on with the banks. And that's what I thought was going to happen. And he told me when he loaned that to me that the rest would come later.
Who told you that?
Michael Brown.
Told you the rest will come later.
Yeah.
All right, some 6.5 or 7 months later, did Michael Brown give you another check?
Yes. I don't remember exactly how long after.
Well, from February 22nd until September the 7th of 01. I'm going to hand you states A. I'll ask you if you recognize that.
I did.
What is that?
It's that second check for
How much is it?
$250,000.
Who gave that check?
Michael Brown.
And what county and what state were you when you gave it?
Rankin County, Mississippi.
And what did you do with those checks?
They were deposited into our checking account for the
That's a cemetery business,
Yeah.
whatever you call it, operating account or whatever.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, when Michael Brown gave you these 2 checks that you testified about, did he present you or show you any loan documents of any kind in connection with this this loan?
There was a promissory note. I'm not sure exactly when that was presented to me, whether it was at the time that he gave me the checks or sometime after. I'm not sure. I never did get a copy from him.
Who presented that promissory note to you?
Michael Brown.
All right. And Mr. Shackelford, before this, had you borrowed money before?
Well, yeah. I guess.
Okay. Are you familiar with giving security for a loan? Giving a deed of trust, for example.
Yes, sir.
You familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
You done that before?
Yes, sir.
Now, did Michael Brown require you to give a deed of trust on anything before he gave you that, money?
No, sir.
Has he ever obtained a deed of trust from you to secure these loans?
No, sir.
Now, I want to fast forward some to early 2012 or very late in 2011. We did, sir. Late 2011 or early 2012, when, for lack of a better word, things started blowing up in Hines County Chancery Court. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
You will remember that, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Now, at or about that time, did you have any meetings with Michael Brown?
Yes, sir.
And specifically, I'll ask you if he had, how many meetings did you have?
Actual meetings in person at my office was 3 that I remember concerning that.
All right. And I want to direct you to the first of these 3 meetings, okay? Did you know Michael Brown was coming to your office on that occasion?
The first time that he came, I did not know he was coming. He had, it was the day that he left court. I wasn't at that hearing. And it was the day that he left, and he came out there, and I was not there. And the lady that works there called me. I was at a family's home, and said that Mike Brown was there and wanted to see me, and I wasn't expecting him. And she said that he was making her very nervous, that he was real fidgety, he was walking around behind the counter and looking at the computer and stuff. So as soon as I left the family, I called, and he was still there waiting on me. And I got there, and it was time for her to leave, and she left. And we talked for, I don't remember how long it was, but we talked, and he said that he wanted to talk to me about some things, and he wanted me to do a few things and so forth concerning that.
Let me ask you that one stop right there. Did he make any specific request of you about what he wanted you to do in Hines County Chancery Court?
Not at that meeting, that was a brief meeting.
Okay. Go ahead and finish what
And I had, it was on a Wednesday night, and I was going to church. So we set up a meeting. I don't know if it was the next night or the night after, but it was in that week, a day or 2 after that meeting. And that's when he came to the office. And, well, he did tell me some of the things he told me he wanted to do. He did tell me that he wanted me to say some things that was not true.
Explain what you mean by that. Now, you mean say some things where that weren't true.
He wanted me to tell the judge.
He wanted you to go to court and swear and then
Right.
tell something wasn't true?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury what that was.
He wanted me to say that I had borrowed over $1 million and that he was going to backdate the papers, and that it didn't make any difference, but I would never have to pay it because it was past the statute of limitations, and he was backdating it to where it would show that it was past the statute of limitations. And that's when I got very uncomfortable with what he was saying. And I called a friend, a very close friend, and told him what was going on, and he's the one who suggested that I tape this.
All right. So which conversation did you take?
I taped the second one when he actually told me exactly what he wanted me to do and those papers that he wanted me to sign, which I thought was going to be deeds of trust. That
But
I
it was
already
not a
signed.
deed of trust?
No, sir. I thought that it was going to be the deeds of trust on the promissory notes that I had already signed.
And did you learn that he did not want you to sign the deed of trust at all, or what did he want you to sign?
He had those other papers, which was another, I think it was 2 or 3 papers, which was other promissory notes that he had. And then when I asked him to slide them across to me, that I was going to sign them, because I thought it was deeds of trust, and then he told me they weren't deeds of trust, that they were promissory notes. And I said, well, I've already signed the promissory notes, why do you want me to sign them again? He said, well, it's not the same ones, and that's when he explained about backdating them, it's for over $1 million.
That was my next question. He presented you and asked you to sign promissory notes in a sum of over $1 million.
Yes, sir.
And he also explained to you that he wanted that y'all were going to backdate these notes.
Yes, sir.
And was it also your understanding that he wanted you to testify in court that this was a up and up transaction?
Yes, sir. Under oath to a judge. Yes, sir.
Were you willing to do that?
No, sir.
All right. Now, Mr. Shackelford, did you record that conversation between yourself and Michael Brown?
Yes, sir.
And where was the recording device?
I had it on my desk behind some books and stuff where he
Obviously, he was not aware of it.
No, sir, he wasn't aware of it. You may.
Shackford, I'm going to hand you a compact disc, and I'll ask you if you can recognize it, and if so, how.
Because it's got my initials on it that I signed at your office, and it's got the date of when I did it.
All right? And I'm going to ask you if you had occasion on that time to re-listen to the recording that you made between yourself and Mr. Brown.
Yes, sir.
And whose voices appear on this recording?
Mike Brown's voice and my voice.
Anybody else's?
No, sir, I don't recall it, but no voice on it.
And after listening to this recording, did you determine that this is a fair and accurate representation according to the conversation that y'all had?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to hand you another item, and I'll ask you if you can recognize that, please.
It has my initials on it, the same date as that.
And is that a transcript of this recording?
Yes, sir.
And did you read that transcript as you listened to this recording on April 5th, 2013?
Yes, sir.
And is this transcript an accurate accounting of what you listened of the contents of this recording?
Yes, sir.
Did you read the transcript as you listened to this recording?
Yes, sir.
Now we can move these items next morning.
Well, says the fence.
See, question back.
George, I'm going to ask you which of the jury that you're in. care of what your objection is.
Motion for discovery was filed on October 8, 2012. We received the discovery, motion discovery on October 30th, 2012. And no time was at this for a transcript ever relayed to us at any time.
All right, Mr. Brown, I'm looking at a motion to suppress that was filed on your behalf by Mr. Lockhart on January the 9th, 2013. And on January the 9th, 2013, in this motion, stated that on January the 3rd, 2013, I received a DVD of a conversation the defendant had with Lionel Shackelford. And you just told me that you had not received that.
No, I didn't receive the original discovery pack. We received the
But you just said at no time had you received that.
we received it on January 2nd. This one I got here, just saying, second. I'm reading this right here. The original discovery pack.
All right, what is your objection to the DVD?
That they did not give it to me in a timely manner. They had the discovery, they had the video, the audio tape back when they sent me on original discovery.
All right.
We were originally.
Okay, I've heard enough on that. You received this at least January the 9th, 2013. We're in August now. That's ample time. Do you have any other objections?
No.
All right.
Except for the original arguments I had before.
All right. I've overruled your objection as to relevance.
They can be admitted, Your Honor.
Well, let's do it in front of the jury. Let's bring the jury back. What numbers are they on?
Yes, he just tried to lie to a judge.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the objection of the defense to the admission of the video and the transcript has been overruled. The video will be admitted as States 15. The transcript will be admitted as States 16. The transcript is secondary evidence. Let me tell you what I mean by that. The recording is the primary evidence. If you're looking at the transcript and you are considering it with the audio, if there's any point in time where the transcript and the audio conflict, the audio prevails. Everybody with me on that? So the transcript is an aid and it's secondary evidence. The recording is the primary evidence. All right. For convenience, I'm going to allow the state to give each of you a copy of the transcript that will be numbered that you'll be able to use while you listen to the audio here. That'll be taken up after you get through with the audio. Council approach. allowed you to step down while the audio was being played. We'll come back to the courtroom, you just have a seat, I'll let you go and come back to the stage. You wish to publish?
Yes, Your Honor. We would move the publication
He's trying, okay, you're going to, I want to say, I loaned you all that money. Instead of me giving the money to Thomas, I'm going to say I gave money to promissory note. So you're not planning you coming with a promissory note sending back the money. Okay? What that does is, when your defense, yeah, I owe the money. I tried to contact Thomas several times to see if he could work out some type of payment thing, and he did not. And the last conversation I had with him, he said, get back with me, that's been 6 years ago, or whatever it is. Set some limitations on it. Okay, it's not your responsibility to pay somebody back. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, it's not, in fact, at the time you contacted him, you might have sold the business and got out of the business if you had not worked out with him on that aspect of it. Do you see what I'm trying to understand?
Yeah, I hear what you said, Mike. I just keep thinking about me. I'm not telling the truth if I say that. And that's one thing that's really happening. And why are you going to get signed a deed of trust now?
Not because of promising us. Somebody over there.
Why are you going to sign them now?
Because I got to have them show that you got the money.
What about the one already signed?
Those will go. Those will still be applicable. They're not signing them as of this date. You're signing them back as of 2000.
But already signed them.
Not the big one. Not.
Oh, you want me to sign one for the whole thing?
No. You'll get one will be spaced back and one will be after. So it's like that. But it's going to be. It's not going to. It's already going to have been expired.
All right, Mike. Let me ask you this. And another thing that I just can't get off my mind. You want me to say this to a judge, and if I would do something like that, and I asked you this before, and then the truth comes out.
How's the truth coming out? You're going to sign the promissory note. All they're going to say,
well, I didn't need the money though. And I don't know what they asked for about accounting. I still don't understand exactly what they're referring to when they say they want to see accounting. So, if accounting refers to my books and they go back and check it, they go see where I never got that money.
that's not true. That's not true.
How is it not true?
Because they don't read all the having a lot of money. You had so much other money coming to you, there's no way you're going to that.
It's all the CPA's got it all wrote down.
You don't have your business records go back that far anyways.
My business records go all the way back to that time.
They don't know that.
Well, no, they don't know that. Oh, boy. Why didn't you tell me back then, when you got my appraisal and brought that judge and did what you were really doing, that you were getting millions instead of just that part of me?
What I was doing was, but the way I was doing it was, Robinson didn't care if you paid the interest. Okay, the interest you were going to pay from the judge. Okay, he wanted to make sure it's a secure investment. It's about as secure as you can be. It's still a secure investment. I think your fault and my fault. Thomas didn't do what he should have done to collect the money.
Well, really, what really made it bad was, I needed $1.2 billion for 25-year amortization. And when we talked, when you came to me and offered that to me instead of me getting it from the bank, then, you didn't say that I ought to be able to get more. but not at that time. And then the board never came, and and then when I had that problem, it gave some contractor out here, and that hurt, I mean,
But
I've been very hard to steal it ever since.
I understand that. I don't, but if you do the way I'm talking about doing, you're never going to be obligated to pay Tom.
And I really don't understand statute of limitations. I've never experienced anything like this. And I mean, it's actually law that I don't have to pay this money.
He didn't sue me. There's no difference if somebody slips and falls. I was out here on your property out here, and slips and falls, hurts themselves really bad, and they wait 4 years. There's got some pensions to be got.
I'll tell you the way, until recently, before I knew everything that I know now, I didn't feel the same way I do now. But now, I really, the way Thomas is acting about this, the way he positively stopped communicating with me, and he has caused me some problems. So now, it's not going to bother me not to pay.
Well, let's see. Okay,
Not that I never will, but I don't want to be pressured when I have to. If I do, my parents will not.
Okay, let's put it this way. When we originally did this whole thing, the whole deal, Tom was going to work with you in every way.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen to this. Okay, I'm in trouble right now because I helped him and I helped you. Okay?
I don't think it's fair for you to get off the hook.
Okay, I didn't have to do anything for either one of you. I could have just sat there and got about $500,000 in fees for all the work I did. In the end, well, I would have done that, except for if I trusted Thomas and I trusted you. And the whole thing is, I look at the problem you're having is if Thomas had done what I asked him to do with you numerous times, you wouldn't have been involved in work.
That's right.
If he thrown his money into this, when I asked him to do that, he wouldn't be able to get return right now. It would have been going, how they would have made 10
Yeah,
times.
they're the whole time.
They would have made 10 times the money. They would have made 10 times the money. All I need now is, when we bring these little promissory notes to bear, that's going to blow them out of the water. Because Thomas has got to say, well, you bought me these good vehicles. Well, I'm going to buy those vehicles. So I had a bunch of money come to me.
Well, I don't understand that. You said the money bought the vehicles. The difference of that million and what I got bought the vehicles. What?
That's one of we bought vehicles, and we got Thomas, some other land, and some other stuff, we got a bunch of cash.
But you're not going to show them?
No, I'm going to show that you got the money. See, Thomas can't sue you for that money. If he could, I would be able to protect you because it's all the money he got. But I can't do that. All you said is that I borrowed this amount of money. Yes. Why? There's a secure investment. It was from my appraisals, taken to the judge. I understand the judge approved everything, and that's exactly what I got that whole thing. What I look at it is this way. If you had gotten everything going, you would have had no problem paying us the interest because you would have an up and down business.
Yeah, that's true, Mark.
Look, I understand. Look, you're preaching to the choir right now. I understand you, and I understand the Thomas. So Thomas said, you asked me why I didn't do it the other way. Well, looking back, I wish I had. Everybody got screwed with me. Okay, but you wouldn't have gotten help. You lost everything.
Well, I don't know that. I mean,
the bank was screwed you.
Well, I don't know that because the other bank, they didn't know what hurt me was. I owed $550,000 after that, and when I go to a bank, then trying to borrow money, they see that $550,000, that threw up a red flag. When I was working with Trustmark in the very beginning, Stuttgart was still there. I had a good opportunity of getting that loan. And yeah, it was there.
Who was the one who worked with the guy down there on I-35?
Ian and Jim on the second floor.
That's Trustmark money.
Yeah.
They were blocking. There's no question. Some of it was that you were, they were going after you.
Well, I don't, I've been with them for a long time. I think something like 18 years when that happened. And, to this day, I still don't know that they would not have loaned him money because, it was taking some time, but that was a lot of money. And, I had somebody come in with me at that time as a partner that was strong to go sign up, so I was trying to keep doing that. And then they were talking about, an SBA loan, which I was in the process of maybe working on. But anyway, when you come up with this, it did speed things up, so I just forgot about that. We were going to go that direction, but I was kind of thinking that I could have got more before I needed to make it all work. But anyway, that's it. Now, I'm kind of in a way, all this time, everything has been like a mystery. I've been kind of like in the dark, and then when it got to where I couldn't get things going here because of being strapped to cash. It's just been a big question mark. Well, what in the world, how do we do this? How do we do that? And everything. And then Ken come in to help me. Again, thankful. And it's just, I'm down. I don't know money that I should never do. But it is still, I'm still.
And Thomas screwed up. So if it were Thomas who's been screwed, he's going to have a problem with this.
I don't interrupt it. I've been thinking about this so much since you talked to me, the other day you talked to that judge talk, and I went back and they talked about those meetings that I had with Thomas, and I told Thomas every meeting I had with him before I went, I wanted to see Devon there. And Devon was only at one meeting. And every other meeting he said, Devon can't make it, Devon don't need to be here, or, we don't need Devon here. And I started feeling then that something was going on, that he was trying to either hang out of this and Devon not knowing it or something. And then the way he acted in the last two meetings, I'll never forget the last time when we drove up out there and he wanted to hide me from you. And we shook hands when I left. And I thought we had agreed on something. And then I get a letter from him after that saying my acceptance. And I ain't heard from him since. I tried to get in touch with him. I tried to call him. I saw him there that doctor that day. And then he acted like he don't know me. And then when I recognized him, he wrote down the
You got to about the letter essentially?
Oh, I had to find it.
Was it about 2005, 2006?
Back then, sometime. Yeah. Or no, it was 2007. I think it was 2007 that the date was all there. But we were communicating back and forth. And we would come up with this deal, and I would come up with this agreement, and he never would approve anything that I would come up with, and then he wouldn't come back with anything. All he would say was not acceptance. The last time he ain't said it's not acceptance. So I said the last time, if you are going to have to come up with something, because I've done everything that I can do, and I never heard from him. But what really got me out is, why in the world did he not want you to know I was there? I was fixing to go talk to you, and he grabbed me on the shoulder and pulled me back over in front of me where you couldn't see me, and you need to leave, and then was kind of like pushing me, talking about me. Well, what was that? I don't know. And then after that, I decided, hey, if he doesn't want to work with me, then I'm just not going to work with him. Oh, gosh.
If you do this, they can't come back on you. Let's just put it this way. Let's just go this route.
It's bad enough that I borrowed $550,000, and now you want me to say I borrowed $1 million.
That's going to be more than that.
What?
They did $1 million too. I think that's how much I gave you.
You gave him about $550,000 dues, or $650,000. He got that much money. Well, what did you get? Well, I thought that's how you did your house. You had it on your house.
No, I came got to my house. The money I got,
Thomas got $650,000.
roughly somewhere in that range. And I wrote a check for 80 after the last.
No wonder he don't want to get exposed.
It's not looking exposed. I mean, I should have done what I did. Yeah,
What, did the judge know you got that money?
No. All the judges knew was he bought, I think the judge thinks he bought a bunch of cars.
What about Andrew? Did he know?
Oh, he probably knows about the cars, but about the money. Thomas was talking, I think he was talking about the money.
The law and everything.
That make any difference. The money's irrelevant. This is how it works out. When you come in and you testify, this is how much money I bought. And that's all you have to say is, yes, I bought it. I bought it 10 years ago. Okay? What you bought? Bought it to do my business out there. And when the money was ready, when I had to pay it back, I contacted Thomas. Said, look, I can't pay this way, but I could sell the business or we work some type of deal out. And over a period of years, he would never work with me on anything. And finally, I said, look.
Well, that's not what's true.
Okay. Let's just put it this way. All the years that I did stuff with you, how much did you pay me?
Well, good gracious, Mike, I don't know.
Nothing.
No, I'm telling you, I gave you $5,000 that time was coming back from, you remember that time was coming back from, probably 49. Yeah, I'm thinking you, I give you $5,000, I give you $5,000 twice.
No months. I already
But
done.
I had it, no, you probably not a whole lot more than what I paid you for.
Okay. So you can look at it as that's part of the money that you claim that's out, the money that was owed to be in legal fees.
$650,000.
No. See, Thomas can come back on you on that anyways, because the thing of it is, if he sued you, if he legally, even if he legally can sue you, you would get credit for the money he got paid. The judge, okay, I can't tell, if I did the full-fledged accounting, the judge would yell me to the wall and say, why did you do this? Well, I helped Thomas out and helped Linus out. Well, legally, you weren't able to do that. And I'd say, you're right, and I knew that. The judge looked at me and said, that's kind of stupid on your part. You could have got paid, you would be in this predicament right now. And I said, yeah, you're right.
What about this thing that you told me that time you and Thomas was one of the partners about developing some property or something? And you said, listen, I'm trying to get into it dissolve, didn't last very long.
That's what you do in a partnership, not me. You and him. I always blame you and him to build a partnership.
I don't think Thomas is going to really work apart from somebody unless he's running the show.
Well, I think his intentions were not honorable.
You know, that really kind of me because I have a lot of respect for Thomas. He came across as a personal guy, he talked like that, but his actions did not back up what his talk was. And I started really wondering about if he was serious about that. And
I'll give you an example.
I don't know.
When he got quite a bit of money, I asked him, I said, look, I need you to work. I said, go to Linus and see about doing some type of partnership with this money. And I figured you really got some type of deal with it.
I don't know what he got anything done.
No, I know you did. I know you did. He said, no, you're giving you that money here for us, like that.
He just want to keep that money up. Does the mom let me get that?
Oh my God. I mean, I don't know.
I think the mom kept him dark from getting a lot of this stuff, not all of it.
Well, in the beginning, because he had to be, because he was inside the policy with his brother.
Where's his brother?
I don't know.
How much are they gonna do about that one?
I don't know if I did that, I'm really telling. I have no idea.
All right.
If you do this for me, you have a friend for it.
I don't need my food for a long time anyway, for me, that's okay.
Well, you just need to, this is redemption for me, so you're bailing me out. Okay? If, on mine, I shouldn't have done it.
No, you shouldn't have. Now that it's turned out like this.
Well, I never expected it. I never expected Thomas to be it.
And I did it with expectations different than what happened, but how it turned out. It was a bad news from the beginning.
You honestly believe that I thought you were going to not make it. I didn't think you could make it.
I don't know. But I did think that I would give you more money.
Yeah.
That was the
And for Thomas to be good.
yeah. And my gosh. Well, but I don't know how much you why you did that was money, but that was enough money. That was more than enough what I needed to make it work.
So if we done what I
And I mean, we didn't want to like we got a long time term, but we would do better than anyway.
Right. If he had done what I asked him to do, he would have been in did what he needed to do with you. You would have paid back years ago, and everything would be flying up here. There's no.
I'm going to be 64 years old in 2 months.
Well,
And just 10 years ago, I had the distance manager to make things happen. And so much has happened. I've gone through so much stress. And now I'm having a problem with my heart, problem with breathing. And Lord have mercy, how things have changed.
Okay, this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is the beauty of the whole thing. Is when you were asking me, if they go back and you ask those records, you say I got the money. You know, and you just have to prove that you did get the money, and therefore you have to say that we conspired to keep from them on real fast, and therefore that would mean that none of that is collectible. So if the judge is saying that would be stupid. That's what I'm saying is what Hatcher's problem is this. Thomas picked around with this so long that he did not protect himself. I can tell you how much money Thomas got from me.
Well, this hand is not hard, but
I signed a promissory note for $650,000, telling Thomas that that's the amount of money that I can only justify when he's paying me back. Based on the question that I told Thomas is that the other $350 and $200, I said, that you're going to have to, but that's the whole thing. And so, and I told him, I said, look, I said, I don't know. Was it?
how long have you been practicing law? Well, is he not aware of exact limitations in this?
Well,
What does he expect to get out of this?
he thinks that with his relationship with Dwayne, see, he's here with Dwayne and found out these cars with these guys, you know, like that. And see, Dwayne's going to think that we're going to, we did this. See, his own guy is tied into it. Thomas is the one who bought the cars, got the cars. He sold the cars. When he did the money, he sold the cars.
He sold?
Oh, his cars were gone. He sold his cars. All the Mercedes comes out. He sold his
Even the moms?
yeah. I think we went to a bunch of cars. We got all kinds of cars. And then all of them. Thomas helps other children. Well, this woman helps other children.
He got children with no marriage?
Well, he got children. He got the ones that Jimmy shot. He got a bunch of old children. Thomas is grandpa.
I thought he only had one child, the one brother.
That's not his child. One's brother's not Thomas's child.
Oh.
Aaron's not Thomas's child. Aaron was that. I think Thomas adopted him. And that was my
The one brother died.
right.
But Thomas and him, they heard a divorce before that.
Oh, yeah.
So Thomas was married before.
Yeah. Thomas don't do it. Thomas, probably married me with a bunch of kids. He changed his faith. He went to be a Muslim for a long time. We changed the thing. In the 80s, when I bought something, we would, you know, change the model thing.
I had no idea.
We changed the I don't know what anything else.
Wow.
You see, the whole thing is this. The judge is trying to overturn a closing of the mistake. And to do that, you have to argue that something was not made available to the previous judge. That's like the accountant did. I took Wayne, I said, Your Honor, I said, Judge Robinson approved these accounts. Well, I don't know if I do it very much. Well, that's not really, I might not like them the way they were done, but it's opposed to state. But we don't allow people just to arbitrarily come back and combine with the judge. Okay? See, there's never been an order to open up the estate, because that's what I wanted. I wanted an order to open up the estate. So what they're doing is they're doing a fishing expedition. That's what Wayne's trying to do. He said, if I had gotten an order to open up the estate, I would have appealed it once the grounds. Everything was known. See, when I did the accounting, I put in there about real estate. You had this money, not money. Okay, so if they signed, Thomas and Juan signed off on it. Their lawyer signed off on it.
On 550, the whole
The
thing.
whole thing.
So the judge that I got on it?
Right. Of course, I put in the interest. That's all they would do. Okay. And so the whole thing of it is they're now, so you have this already done. Robinson approved it. So when we come in now, and I say, look, here's all the promissory notes that wouldn't stop. They add up to the monies I had control over. Okay? Thomas knew about all that. The court knew about it. Okay, the court approved it. Thomas never tried to collect the money or take the proper steps to collect the money. It'd be no different if you had a CD, you just do it in water. It would be not collectible. Okay. Your out is, look, at the time I was trying to work with Thomas, I could have sold the business, made more money, got out, and saved my health. Because of this bill hanging over my head, I never did it. And so I looked at Thomas and said, look, you were supposed to get back to me, you never did, and now my understanding this statute of limitations is expired.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I'll stop that one.
There's nothing that can stop it.
No. If unless they can claim it was done in fraud. Meaning that we fraudulently, that Thomas did not know about the law.
Well, Thomas knew about the dead gun law. That day we went and had that lunch. I wanted to meet him before we did it. So let's pick up his car. And it that green, whatever you call that place.
He signed off on some of his Thomas notes. So it's not, that's not an issue. That's a non-issue. In fact, the thing of it is, that's not, that they can't get that on that. There's just no way they can get that. But the thing of it is when I come into court, you don't be there, and I show all these promissory notes, okay, what is their argument is going to be is one about the cars, one about the cars. That has nothing to do with Juan's money. It has nothing to do with Juan's money. This is Juan's money right here, and I can show you Juan's money. Yeah, I said, I just got close with that. If you do as I asked you, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine.
What time are you coming out here? I got to be for revenue service at 9 o'clock Tuesday morning, and I have to be at the Circuit of State's office Monday, and I don't know what time.
Okay, let's do this.
And then Wednesday, I only have to go back to the Circuit of State's office, to the attorney, if they want me to, which I talked to the man tried yesterday, and I probably won't have to go back, and probably watch all of you.
Okay. What's your schedule for late tomorrow afternoon, morning?
I don't think I'll be trying to do
I'll probably, if I have stuff done, I'm going back to do stuff, make sure I ain't screwed up on something. That's what I'm checking.
Just calling, and Andrew will be here till 5 o'clock. But just call where my cell phone's not working. Just when I'm at work, I can't hear it ring. I look at it, and I can't hear people hardly talk. But if I'm in the circuit, say I'm shooting up, and I'll be there. If I am there, I will be there later than 5, because they shut it down.
You think you're just going to sell?
Huh?
Do you think the Secretary of State's office going to make the sell?
No, they're not going to sell. Well, I say that I don't know. The only thing I know for sure is that they can take my pre-need license away. And until I get that trust, what they want in it, which is about $50,000. And or they can let me have some more time, which is what I sent a letter asking for.
Why did they change? Because you had this extra land that is not encumbered by the cemetery. It's cemetery property, but it's not encumbered by a cemetery. That's the stuff up there on the hillside. The stuff that's up there on the hillside. That right there. You don't have any graves in there, do you?
There's graves all over on the side of the road.
That was, I'm talking about going up that way. You carved out on 7.5 acres, didn't you?
Something like that. Everything on the other side of the road is active burial around the cemetery. And it's not included in this side.
Right.
But all of this is cemetery too. From the Secretary of State, this whole place is cemetery.
What I'm saying is, okay, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, the way you did it before, and they allowed you to do it, was your money protecting the perpetual care was the additional property you had.
No, it was their property, the whole place.
Okay, I thought it was property.
No, the money that I had
Because
is
7.5 acres says we do trust funds at all.
no, you can't have it.
Right. What you do like the possibility at these other places, they release it as you sell a lot.
You can't do it.
You can't do that anymore?
No, you don't do that on cemetery property.
No, that's what they did before, but they were doing that. Okay, that's fine.
A cemetery property cannot be mortgaged, cannot be collateral, cannot be used in anything. Other than social burial. And certain things got some strict on this, and well, heck, up in Boone, up there way high, that I know they do cemetery, and I knew that the newspaper was coming. I knew that he was doing a lot of stuff up in the table, and he got caught. And I forgot how much it was. And that you hear some other trusts, he didn't have the funds to do it, they took the cemetery. Now another one, wait a minute, maybe they did not take the cemetery, maybe these are the ones where they did not get it back to treaty license, and he never sell pre-need again. But there's another one where they took the cemetery, and they took them and sold them. The Wayne High, maybe they just didn't give them a pre-need license permanently.
You said you called over the courthouse and said that they could name you or something.
When I got that thing in the mail yesterday, whenever it was so unusual to me. It seemed like I'm getting a summons or getting a notice telling me that I was lawyer and good friend with the judge. I didn't understand anything about this. I called, and I asked what was going on, and they just went down the line and told me that, well, this is the file, this is the file, that's the file, and you have something here where you have to be in court on the first. And I said, what do you mean? I said, I don't know anything like that. He said, well, it says right here that you were served paper, that the paper you were going to be served, which you should have already received. I appreciate it.
That's that. No, that's that notice and certified notice. That's what they have.
I'm just saying that there's a notice here, in case I'm interested in going, but I don't have to go. Why are you even telling me that?
Well, that's just notice of hearings, not summons. A summons would have to be issued by the court, and it would have to be served on him. If he had a summons issue, he would have to send me a copy. If you got a summons served on you the next day or so, you'd be very hard to get a summons served on you. You would file a motion of caution because you're in the new pass.
Even if the judge is the one that's it?
They just can't count out. You can't count out duties.
Well, aren't you supposed to be allowed a certain amount of time to get prepared on something like that?
First issue, summons was passed. Whether it's applicable, I mean, two different things.
If I don't get served, I don't feel I'm in trouble.
Even if they did serve a summons and they didn't serve it on you, you could be in trouble. You could personally serve it. But what I'm saying is, we say,
George, if you will, take up these text script, please. It'll be Marcus Court's exhibit. May proceed with your
Thank you, Your Honor.
direct examination.
Mr. Shackelford, at some point in either this conversation that we just heard or the next one, did you tell Mr. Brown that you would not go to court tonight?
Yes, I did.
Now, let's talk about the third meeting. The second meeting, I'm sorry. Second meeting, when Michael Brown showed up at your office with some papers.
Yes.
What were those papers, if you know?
Well, I thought it was the deeds of trust that he wanted me to sign on the promissory notes, but it was not. When I asked him to send them over, slide them across the table to me, he said that it was not deeds of trust, it was those promissory notes in the amount of over $1 million that he wanted me to sign.
And did you refuse to sign that?
Yes.
Because you didn't get that much money, is that right?
That's right. Because he wanted to backdate some stuff, it just wasn't right.
And was that what he wanted you to make the misrepresentation to the court about?
Yes.
Now, on that occasion, that is the second meeting, did you give or attempt to give to Mr. Brown any advice about what he should do about just coming clean and being honest about this?
I told him that I didn't know exactly what was going on or what he was doing or what he's done, because he had said something about, being illegal, and I said the best thing that you can do is come clean and tell the truth.
What was his response?
He said he couldn't do that.
Couldn't come clean and tell the truth?
Yes.
Now, I believe y'all had one more meeting after that, did you not?
Yes, sir.
What happened then, if anything?
He just came out to the office and said that everything was okay, there was no problems, don't worry about anything. That was it.
And was that the last conversation you had with Michael Brown? If you remember?
I think when you said conversation, I was thinking of a conversation or meeting. I think it's the last time that I have had any conversation with him.
That was on the journey. Mr. Shackelford, when Michael Brown delivered you these checks for Mark Station, Exhibit 8 and 9, did you ever see a court order authorizing him to give you that money?
No, sir. I never saw anything like that.
I don't have anything further.
All right, George, I'm going to let you show the jury out. We'll take a short break before we begin cross-examination, so we'll take about 10 minutes later.